Hey guys, so welcome back to this new video. So I'm Amina and I already did 2 videos in cooperation with AuPairWorld, so you might already know me, and I'm sure they will be linked in the description down below. And also if you want to see some more au pair content, there's also some on my channel, will probably also be linked down there. And so today we're talking about my tips and tricks on how to find friends as an au pair when you're new in the city and everything. So one member of the au pair team reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to talk about this subject because they felt that I would have things to say, and actually yes, I do. I'm actually quite passionate about this fact because I think that the people you meet shape the experience. It's really so much nicer to make memories that you share with other people instead of just you in this foreign country, because the people you meet are going to represent the experience you have. So first of all, now let's get right into it. But first, before I give you my tips on how to meet people, I just want to differentiate 2 kinds of friends that you are going to meet on your au pair experience. So I'm usually against putting people in boxes, but here I feel like it does make sense, so just let me explain before you judge. So you're gonna have the friends that are also au pairs and the ones who aren't. And why does this make all the difference? So the friends you're gonna meet that are also going to be au pairs are perfect to understand your situation, because they too are living far from home, might also experience homesickness and exactly the same problems that you can or will go through with the kids of your host family or your host parents. So I'm not saying you're gonna have a lot of problems, I'm just saying if there is problems that will occur, and we all know life is not always like in the movies, then they are the best persons to understand your situation and probably to give you also the best advice. So it's really great to have some sort of an au pair support network around you that can, just give you tips on how to deal with these issues. And then there's the other friends. So the other friends are mostly going to be locals from the country you're in, and so this is great because they're actually the people living there, so they know the country, they know the culture, they know the language. And a lot of au pairs also choose to become an au pair because they want to learn or become better at the language of the country they fly to. So I went an au pair in Sydney and my English was already pretty good, so for me it was more sort of try to experience the Australian culture, but of course if I could even perfect more my English while doing this experience, then why not? And also they know like all the best spots to eat and all the nicest places to go see the sunset and all sorts of kinds of other tips. And so you really want to go and meet this culture full on by meeting friends that are from there. So now I'm going to talk about the tips on how to actually meet these people. And so there's going to be tips that are for just one group and tips that work for both. So my first and probably most important tip is use the connections you already have. So you're going to tell me, yeah, but I don't know anybody. No, you know your host family, and they might not seem like the perfect persons to ask about this because of course the host kids are much younger than you usually, and the host parents are much older than you, but they actually have an established life in the city and have a lot of contacts, and maybe they know a family who also has an au pair that lives in the same city, and in this case you would have an opportunity to connect with another au pair, or maybe they have friends who have kids in your age group, and so you could connect with some locals. So really starting with your host family is the best tip I can give you. So for example, my host family invited some friends for dinner, and they actually had a niece that was just coming over and she was my age, and so they were like, oh, why don't you bring your niece then, because maybe she will get along well with our au pair. And the niece came along and we actually had a super great time and did some quite other fun stuff together after this dinner. So your family is your starting point, so really use what they can offer you and try to make it of a maximum. And even if you think that it doesn't matter how you meet this person but might not be the perfect match to hang out with you, still try to keep a very friendly relationship basis, because they can introduce you to more people, and they might bring you, we're going with my friends to picnic at the beach, do you want to come? Yes. And then, oh, you know 7 people that live in Sydney, and then you can just see with who you have the most sort of affinity and then see them again. So yeah, your host family is definitely a great starting point. Then the second thing that we're very lucky to have nowadays is the internet and social media. So here, just a quick warning, of course you always should be very careful and mindful when you're talking to people on the internet, because it can also become dangerous very quickly, but it's also a great tool to meet people. So I met some people through Instagram, for example, and concretely how I did this was that I just looked up the hashtags, for example, AuPairWorld Sydney, AuPair in Sydney, AuPair Australia, and I just hit up some people who posted stuff about being an au pair here, and asked them, hey, I'm a new au pair here, I don't know anybody, do you have any tips for me, are you still an au pair here, would you like to meet up with me? Of course, I'll always choose some sort of public safe space to meet them, and also kind of check their account if they seem legit before you meet them in real. But yeah, and I met 2 of my very good friends from Australia on Instagram, and I'm still in contact with them, so both of them are still in Australia, but I'm really looking forward to the moment when they come back to Germany and I can go visit them. And so another app that I would really recommend is Meetup. So Meetup is an app that has a lot of different groups, and they're centered all around like one kind of theme. So for example, people who love art galleries will have a group that's called Art Gallery Sydney or something like that. And there's so many of them, and of course they vary during like in each city they have some sort of different stuff, but there's really a lot of them. I'm also in Barcelona right now, not doing au pair, but still using this app, and it's super great to connect with people. And yeah, so you can basically just go on there and join, and it's always events with like, I don't know, I would say the number of people in normal times range to, I would say, averagely from 10 to maybe 50 people, so you're never alone, so you don't have to be too scared about catfishing. And Meetup, I would say, is more for to meet local people, but then there's also some groups who are focused around cultural exchange or learning a new language and these kind of things that can also, maybe you can meet other au pairs. I don't know, I have never met other au pairs through Meetup, but you just don't know sometimes what coincidence can happen. And yeah, so this I would also really recommend. And then the third tip that's also really great is to pursue your hobbies. So I'm sure at home you had some kind of hobbies. For example, maybe you love to sing, play an instrument, paint, or some kind of sport. So for me, for example, I love to dance. So when I was au pairing in Sydney, I enrolled in the Sydney Dance Company, and this allowed me to meet all kinds of people who basically only had this one point in common, that we all love to dance. And it's also great if you're really going there open-minded, you can easily meet people because you already have this one common interest. So this is another great tip, just enroll in a local activity. If you love to play basketball, just find some sort of local basketball team and ask them if you could train with them once or twice a week, and just be nice to people, and then they will just hit you up again to do something that might have nothing to do with the actual hobby, like playing basketball. So this was my main and I think best tips to meet people, but honestly the most important thing of all is of course to always just be open-minded, smiling and friendly, and then it's not that hard to meet people. Of course I can only talk for cities most of the time because I only au paired in Sydney, which is obviously a big city, and so I think that it might come with some more different or a little bit more challenges if you're au pairing somewhere on a very small village that might not have this many opportunities. But just, yeah, my main tip is instead just smile and be open-minded, and there is no way you're not gonna find friends with this mindset. So just really don't worry about it. I've also moved a lot of times in my life, and the mindset is what counts the most. in these kind of things. And if you want to share your experience on making friends as an au pair or making friends abroad in general, please leave it in the comments to give some different ideas, perspective and knowledge to other people watching this video. That would be absolutely great. And if this video was helpful to you, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and maybe subscribe to the AuPairWorld channel. Yeah, and that's basically all I have to say. Oh yeah, and if you want some more au pair content, you can also check out my channel, which is in there. I hope you have a really, really great day. Thank you so much for watching, and bye!